statement, a spokesperson said the broadcaster will defend the case. Elsewhere, UK police are stepping up armed patrols on the transport network and in other crowded places as they warn of an increased terror risk over the festive period. Senior officers from counter-terror policing and the British Transport Police have issued a joint call for vigilance following the recent attacks targeting the Jewish community in Manchester and Australia, warning that mass gatherings over the Christmas and New Year period remain an attractive target for terrorists. The driver who ploughed into crowds at Liverpool's Premier League victory parade has been jailed for 21 years and 6 months. Paul Doyle injured 134 supporters after driving his car into fans. The court heard the 54-year-old lost his temper and acted in what a judge called inexplicable fury. Dashcam footage showed supporters thrown onto the bonnet and dragged beneath the car as Doyle shouted abuse and accelerated through closed streets. Doyle pleaded guilty to 31 offences, including attempting to cause grievous bodily harm to a 6-month-old baby. The judge today said his actions caused horror and devastation on a scale not previously encountered by that court. And UK unemployment has risen to 5.1%, the highest level since early 2021. The ONS says young people are being hit the hardest, with unemployment among 18 to 24-year-olds jumping by 85,000. Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch spoke this afternoon.
It's just another day of bad news from Labour. What we're seeing is an advent calendar of misery. It's Christmas time. People want to know that they're going to have a job, that they're going to be earning more money, they can do their Christmas shopping, they can survive. And instead, what we've had is low growth, more people losing their jobs, and no good news at all for the foreseeable future.
Those are the latest GB News headlines. It's over to Patrick.
Welcome along to Late Edition. Let's give you the first look at Wednesday's newspaper front pages, starting with the Metro. Christmas gift from an NHS angel. A nurse who has dedicated her life to saving prematurely born babies will spend another Christmas day away from her family to help those most in need. You know, it's a human interest story, to say the least, on the front of the Metro there. If we go to the Eye now, silicosis scandal, ban killer kitchen dust to save lives. Look, it's one of those stories, and I mean, rightly so in a sense, obviously makes you worried to go into your own kitchen, yes. You know, and it's like, well, if this is happening, what's going on here? But, you know, it's the first UK cases of a thing called silicosis in workers cutting engineered stone for kitchen counters. And it's a campaign to clamp down on this toxic dust that we've had there. Obviously, it's deadly, really. It's a deadly lung disease. So there you go. That's on the front of the Eye paper. The Telegraph go for free TV licences for benefits claimants. So this is the first of a series of newspaper front pages that are running with this story. You are getting a free TV licence now for the BBC if you're on benefits, apparently. The Times, return of UK student exchange with Europe. So Britain is going to rejoin the Erasmus scheme from 2027. Look, some people will say this is a Brexit betrayal. Don't get me wrong, I have sympathy for that as well. The other side to it, though, I suppose, is like, you know, when people voted to leave the European Union, did they actually really vote so that students couldn't come and go? I don't think it's the main point that's worth dying on a hill over, but I get that it's part of a basket of things that are probably seeing us get inescapably close to the European Union again. The Daily Mail, free BBC if you live on Benefit Street. Well, there you go, straight down the line there from the Mail. The Guardian, UK to rejoin EU Erasmus programme for students. The Sun, happy ever grafter. Now, this is a mum who was on benefits. It is a mum of 15, right, and has apparently now gone on to... Well, she was making £60,000 a year in benefits from her brood and her handout. She's slammed the two-child cap axe, which is interesting. She's blasted Labour for axing the two-child benefit cap and urged mums to pay their way, telling pals, it's been the making of me. Apparently she's gone on to start a very successful business with 15 children. I suppose the message there would be, you know, if Cheryl can do it, then why can't other mums, you know? But anyway, The Independent, Trump starts $10 billion court fight with the BBC. And it's this basket of BBC stories that we're going to start with tonight with my panel, because it looks as though our state broadcaster is never going to be the same again. There's this lawsuit with President Trump for $10 billion. they are fighting it. There's talk now, for the first time in their history, that they will have to run adverts to pay their own way. OK? There's even talk on the front of the Eye that Strictly Come Dancing could go behind a BBC licence fee paywall, so you can only watch Strictly behind a paywall. And Christo's annoyed. And there's talk of the free licence fee for anyone who's on benefits. Well, let's start with this in the Daily. I mean, Christo, start with the slightly more serious issue, which is the free BBC. Free BBC if you live on Benefit Street. What do you make of that?
I think that, bearing in mind that Lisa Nandy is overlooking this, and this is why this is coming up, it's a raft of proposals that are being looked at by the Culture Secretary, because, of course, the BBC is seeing that the amount of money that it's making is plummeting year after year because people just aren't paying their licence fee anymore. They're not buying the licence fee anymore. They're not keeping up with payments. So she's looking at funding models. So you can be absolutely sure. You don't even need to know what the story is. We could be talking about anything at the moment and concerning this government, and the answer will be, if you're on benefits, you get it for free. If you earn a bit more, you'll pay more. And that's going to be the answer. We could be talking about school dinners. We could be talking about free, sandwiches. We could be talking about absolutely any policy whatsoever. This government's answer is, if you're on benefits, you get it for free. If you earn a bit more or you strive to do better, you have to be penalised and pay more. And that is precisely what's going on here, because they're also looking at the idea of staggering the amount you pay based on whether you earn a bit more money. That's another idea that they've got. They're also talking about... How would you do that?
As they should. It's a green paper that opens the door on the BBC Charter renewal, right?
So what? I would have to submit my tax return to watch Strictly.
Why not? Or more seriously.
Was that rhetorical?
More seriously, right? Try this one on for size. If you use the BBC more and use more of its services, right? Because part of this is about how you're watching BBC One also then subsidises the World Service and all sorts of educational resources that you may not use. How about packaging them up in a way that sort of allows some people to pay for some things and then for there to be a base rate?
No, because what you're talking about there, which is quite a good idea, which hearing from someone on the left is very, very rare, so I'm surprised I'm not about to burst into flames.
I'm here to shock.
What you're talking about is a subscription service where I have the choice.
Which is also being looked at.
The whole point of what is being looked at here is not a subscription service where I have the choice to not pay very much or pay a bit more for the things I want. This is the licence fee. One of the ideas is the licence fee remaining, but if you are on benefits, you get it for free. If you earn a bit more money, you pay proportionately more. That is ridiculous. Why should I pay more than well, it wouldn't be my neighbour because I live on a very nice road, but why would I not? Why would I want to pay more than the person who lives quite far away from me on benefits, nearer to you? Why would I want to pay more than that?
Even know where I live.
No, let's just go. So look, I mean,
let's go to the first break.
Look, the opening paragraph on the Daily Mail's front page is middle-class families face paying more to watch the BBC to help fund free licences for benefits claimants in planned unveil yesterday.
Quelle surprise.
So the Telegraph are also leading with it. Benefit claimants could receive free television licences under sweeping BBC reforms being considered by Lisa Nandy. Is there a justification for this, do you think?
No, of course there's not. There's no justification for this whatsoever. No one's calling for it. Not even the people on benefits. There are people on benefits watching this going, we don't want it. They do not make us watch the BBC.
We're on benefits. We're going through enough.
Yeah, for goodness sake, enough is enough. Leave us alone. But obviously no one's calling for this. Labour are obviously scrabbling around. Look, Kai's probably right. This is the way Labour test their policies now. They leak it out to the media, they find out if we like it or not, and then they backtrack on it. So a U-turn on a U-turn on a U-turn, and then they can obviously admit that it was never a policy in the first place. This will not come to fruition because it's unless, I mean, Labour are mental, don't get me wrong, but you'd have to be double mental with chips In order, I don't know where the chips came from, Patrick, but I just thought I'd chuck them in.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
You'd have to be double mental to think this was in any way a policy that anyone can get behind. Nobody wants this policy at all. Look, just make it subscription-based, make it free. They have to earn their own way.
I mean, the chips would be taxed, of course.
Let's just think about, because there was another option that was proposed today, and it doesn't seem to have made the front pages in its own right, but it was a big question, a big change to the BBC, which is just for it to go to an advertisement model.
Yeah.
Like we have on every other channel.
Look, these have all come from the same place. We were expecting a consultation document on the charter renewal.
Yeah.
It happens every few years, right? And I'm glad about this, because actually the lawsuit with Trump is a bit of a nonsense. You know, this splashing about the benefits and so on. These are just window dressing to the core issue, and the reason why this needs to be done properly and interrogated properly, these options as real options, is because the world's changed. Out with all of this, out with Trump, streaming services versus terrestrial TV is the defining story of the modern media landscape. It's not possible. If it was as easy as to say subscription service, then there we go. It's just not that simple.
I think there's a chance they'd make more money, Christys. So, for example, obviously, as people will know, we get TV viewing figures every single day. This is the name of the game that we're in, and there are certain shows.
Isn't your show doing particularly well, as well as GBNews as a whole?
Yes. Thank you very much, Christys.
Did I say the right thing there?
Was that the right thing? That's it. Now you get to live.
Thank you.
But seriously, there are certain shows, there are certain flagship shows on BBC especially that you would expect that you would make the case for, like, it's very difficult to compete with. Things like Traitors. I mean, I think there was one point not so long ago when Traitors is pop that 50% of all people watching TV at that time in Britain were watching Celebrity Traitors.
Wow.
Right? So are you honestly telling me that if you didn't have advertising on that show that you wouldn't pay for it? So you'd pay for the whole channel for a year.
Yeah.
People would be desperate. They'd pay through the nose. Companies would pay through the nose for that kind of stuff. So why is it that you're still relying on taxpayers to pay your way?
Entitlement. They think they're the best of society. Tim Davies said they were the best of society, the best of people. It's an entitlement. This whole thing's about entitlement. The BBC's glory days are over. We've all enjoyed the BBC at some point or another. I mean, we do have our own traitors on here. Kai just happens to be the one tonight. Jonathan Liss was the one I was with on with Sunday. But I think you're absolutely right, Patrick. I think it would stand on its own feet, and they would live and die by their programming choice. They wouldn't be able to get away with. They wouldn't be able to get away with pumping their own politics down people's throat because people wouldn't be interested.
That's not an image I want to think about. Or is it? However, I do want to take an issue with something that you just said there, actually, because I don't think it's fair to say that Kai is one of the traitors, because I don't think anyone on the left has ever worked as hard as a traitor does, firstly. No offence. But secondly, sorry, did I say no offence? I meant every offence.
You can tell you know me.
Every offence. But see, I don't think it needs to be adverts. I think it really can be as simple as, I don't mind a bit of central government funding for the BBC. I don't mind, say, BBC News and BBC One being funded, and BBC Radio, local radio especially, being funded by an amount from general taxation. No more licence fee. And then everything over and above that is a subscription. If I want iPlayer, it's subscribed. If I want a website over and above a basic news service, it's subscribed. If I want GCSE bite-sized recipes and, you know, the ridiculous games they have on their website, I have to pay for it. If I want BBC Three, if I want BBC Four, if I want the BBC Archive, I pay for it. A basic BBC out of general taxation, the rest of it, all subscription.
We've got a poll, actually. We've been running this all day, apparently. Friends of GB News can vote in today's You Decide poll for free by scanning the QR code, which should be on the screen right now, and asking, how should the BBC be funded? Adverts or licence fee? Now, the results so far are saying 97% say adverts, 3% say licence fee. Well, not surprised, is it? It's basically asking, do you want to pay for the BBC or not? So there you go. But you can still vote by going to gbnews.com/You Decide, or scanning that QR code on your screen right now. Just to round off this kind of BBC segment with the front of the Independent, Kyle, I'll come to you on this. Trump starts $10 billion court fight with the BBC. Corporation vows to defend defamation case launched by US president's lawyers over Panorama editing blunder. What do you make of what's going on here?
Exactly right. The whole thing is a nonsense. Trump has form. He wants to bring powerful institutions to heel. He can't be allowed to do the same with the BBC as he's done to the likes of CBS and other channels in the States. And not only television channels either, by the way, but law firms, banks, you name it. He's got them in tow.
Do you know the really great and really easy way to avoid Trump being able to go after the BBC is if the BBC didn't just basically splice together stuff that he didn't say and be completely biased against it. So then surely
that's wrong.
Right. Surely he has the right then to go after the BBC.
Yes, but
for £10 billion.
It's not about that. We all know it's not about that.
Well, it is about that.
It isn't. Not with Trump. Not with Trump.
Well, what's any different?
Has this caused harm to his character?
Well,
has it caused harm to his career?
It's probably caused
you know
more
just
harm
as
to the
well
BBC.
as I. Well, it certainly hasn't caused him harm. He's president of the United States of America.
Kai, what's clearly going to happen now, though, is they're not going to be able to avoid this. So you say it hasn't caused harm, and we can reserve judgment on that. I don't think anyone here believes that Trump's lost too much sleep over it.
No.
But his lawyers claim that his brand is worth tens of billions of pounds, and therefore, for the BBC, such a huge institution of the US's greatest ally, to tell such lies, essentially, about Donald Trump is defamation. And therefore, the most litigious man in the most litigious country in the world...
law-abiding man that has never put a foot wrong in his life. He's
correct, Christo.
Thanks for bringing us back down to earth.
Honourable, truthful, honest, really straight down the line, and the BBC have destroyed that reputation.
They really have.
Well, talking
of
things that aren't particularly truthful or honest, this government has decided to return to the UK student exchange programme with Europe from 2027. It's made the front of a couple of national newspapers. What do we make of this? Is this a Brexit betrayal? Is it actually something you get your knickers in too much of a twist over? You know, it's students going one way or the other. Well, we'll find out what we think. And of course, what on earth was going through that bloke's head, the ex-commando who mowed down Liverpool fans in undiluted fury? He was jailed today for 21 years. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's very scary the way that it's heading. I think AI has so many fantastic opportunities, but that when you remove the human out of it, nasty things can happen. And I think young people are being attracted to it because it's 24 availability, there's no judgment, so there's no embarrassment, and they're getting instant responses. So when you're removing the human out of the room, things go wrong.
Is this because adults have pushed this through? We just saw Keir Starmer there on a lectern on one of the many occasions where he's wanging on about how fantastic AI is and it's going to be in all the schools, it's going to transform everything. There's never anybody in the room that puts their hand up and goes, hang on a minute, have you thought this through? Have you actually thought about the negative consequences of this? We don't do that when it comes to technology, do we? We just push it through, Colin.
We are. We're literally just pushing it through. So I think on one hand, for having AI as a companion in a school, it's fantastic because then no child technically is getting left behind because it's like a personal tutor. But no one's putting in those guardrails to say, hang on a sec, when something goes wrong, how are we alerting someone? Who do we alert? And then what do we do about it? No one's actually asking those questions. And we're moving at such a fast pace. We are sprinting when really we should be walking.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about teenagers relying on AI now. You'll be seeing it, Colin. I mean, you're using. I have started to use it. I'm not denying it. I'm not a complete Luddite. I will go on. So if I want to come up with something creative, rather than starting with a blank page, I will go on to one of the AI sites and just ask some questions. And sometimes it just kicks you off with your creativity, or gives you some ideas which you can. But I am watching adults as well.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to Late Edition. Let's get you Wednesday's newspaper front pages. We've already done a couple of them, but let's start with what many people are describing as a Brexit betrayal. We have got the UK to rejoin the EU Erasmus programme for students. It's made the front of The Guardian. It's also made the front of a couple of other newspapers as well. We might as well focus on The Guardian. An agreement to rejoin Erasmus, the EU student exchange programme, is expected to be announced today as part of the UK's government's drive towards closer relations with Brussels. The final details of the announcement have now been agreed by the two sides. They plan to allow UK students to participate in the EU-wide scheme without paying any additional fees from January 2027. They describe it as a breakthrough that will help the UK government demonstrate progress in its drive to improve relations with the EU. One of the things I will say about this is, look, OK, when I voted for Brexit, I didn't vote for students to find it more difficult to go. I appreciate it's probably a byproduct, but for students to find it more difficult to go and live on the continent and study on the continent, fine. The thing that I resent about this is that it appears to be us relentlessly trying to give concessions to the European Union to prove that, oh, look, we want better relations. Oh, look at us. Oh, forgive us for what we've done. And that's something that sticks in my craw, because I think there's more students on the continent who want to come and study in Britain than the other way around.
Well, that's probably true, actually. Although if they watch our news, they probably won't. But what I would say is Erasmus, for me, was one of the babies that may have got chucked out with the Brexit bathwater. I do believe that British students can benefit from the Erasmus scheme without us being part of the European Union, the bloc. We are part of the continent of Europe, and there are things that they can benefit from. I'm very sceptical of the motives behind this particular Labour government, though. Yeah. I wonder where that leads to. And if this was being done by almost anybody else other than Keir Starmer, I'd probably be relatively supportive of it, agnostic to it. I've got a teenage daughter, 16, doing A-levels. If she was to engage in something like this, I think it would be of great benefit to her. Yeah. And the fact that she could do that for free, even better. But this particular Keir Starmer Labour government, to me, are just scallies.
My concern, Christo, would be...
Scallies? Yeah, I'm from Liverpool now.
Yeah, would be that it's part of a kind of drip of measures that will one day lead to the inevitable rejoining of Great Britain into the European Union. Some people might think that's a great thing. OK, I am not one of those people. I think we should have left. We were right to leave. We should have made a much better fist of it. But I do worry that this is part of the slow march back into Brussels, Christo.
Well, as you know, I am a world-famous Ramona.
Yep.
I love the EU and everything that it stands for. I absolutely...
Everything it stands for.
Everything it stands for. Yeah. I literally... The thought of Ursula von der Leyen, Guy Verhofstadt and whatever his name
would make you straight.
Warms your cockles.
It warms my cockles.
And, is that what you call them?
Weird,
it has got a bit weird. No, I don't... The problem is that with Brexit, and there are many problems with Brexit, is that we've ended up in a situation, and I'm not being a Ramona now because I'm past my Ramoning I've had my Ramoning therapy, and I think we should probably stay out of the EU now, because I think what it would do to people's faith in democracy would be horrific, because the betrayal people would feel if we went back into the EU would be absolutely massive. Unfortunately, and you just touched on this, we've ended up in the worst of both worlds, where actually we've got Remainers aren't happy because the deal we did was rubbish, and Leavers aren't happy
and we're not
because
Singapore
we
on
haven't
tabs.
we haven't made any benefits from actually leaving. So we've ended up in a situation. Congratulations, Boris Johnson. You managed to actually betray absolutely everyone.
Well, Theresa May deserves a lot of stick as well. Actually, she did. She doesn't get enough stick. In
no, I think it's all down to Boris, actually, because then he got a majority. She didn't have a majority.
Yeah.
He got an 80-seat majority, and then went, well, I'll just use the deal that she's got and make it a bit worse, which is unbelievable. Out of all of the things, though, this doesn't annoy me as much as other things, but I do think you have a fair point. Is this part of our sort of cap in hand back to the EU? Because actually, economically, that's about one of the only things we've got left that might improve things.
Well, this is the thing, and if you look at the fact that we are incapable of standing up to China, even though it's basically been revealed that China are just spying on literally all of us, and it's horrific what they're doing, because we're so worried about the state of our economy. When you look at now, you've got the return of UK students to the exchange programme in Europe. In itself, fine, couldn't really give a toss, to be perfectly honest with you. But we're also hearing about rejoining the customs union. Now, again, you might think that's a good idea. That's unequivocally not what people voted for. My worry is that this is where we're going with this government.
Rejoining through the back door. I don't think that is. I think this is everybody's happy with it. Stop it, you. This seems like such a win-win, right? That has the added benefit of helping young people in this country who, frankly, aren't helped by the majority of policies, not least in this recent budget, but in the last year and a half.
They're your friends. I don't know why you're slagging them off.
It's one of those nice, softly policies that actually means that if you have this on the table, maybe if it opens doors to some of the other really thorny issues that we're discussing with the EU at the minute, like defence procurement and things like that. If this is the price we pay, then great.
I just think we've shown...
And it also helps young people.
I just worry that we're fundamentally misunderstanding the way the European Union operates. I mean, you know, all of this stuff like Theresa May talking about how we're friends still, all of that. You know, the very first opportunity Emmanuel Macron got, he stole a load of COVID vaccines that were on their way over here, and he wanted to stick them in French arms anyway, because the French vaccines had largely failed. You know, he's deciding not to stop any of the boats pretty much no matter what we do. We've done this deal. I mean, this has gone very quiet, but we did this. Keir Starmer trumpeted this huge deal that he'd done with, I think it was Olaf Scholz at the time in Germany, where the Germans would be able to raid warehouses full of boats that were destined to Britain. And it turned out that they could have just been doing that the whole time and had chosen not to. It's like, I just don't really think the EU are our friends.
No, there's no evidence that they are. I mean, I'll be surprised, Guy, if you could provide evidence that that politically they are friendly towards Britain. Starmer has become a bit of a simp when it comes to the EU. He's desperate, which is playing right into their hands. You know, if you're going to do a deal with anyone and you're sitting in the block, then do a deal with Starmer, because he will take any deal you offer them and he will sail us down the river. I think we have to be incredibly cautious about what we do. This isn't about building cultural bonds and which I think you can achieve through Erasmus. This is about a political problem that needs resolution. They still haven't forgiven us for voting to leave. They still haven't forgiven us for having the gumption to actually leave. And we actually saw that play out as part of the vaccines. Irrespective of what you might think of the vaccines, there was great envy of the UK and what was achieved within the UK's independence.
Can I just say as well some of the detail on this? So apparently in negotiations, Britain asked for a 50% discount on the £120 million cost of the Erasmus programme, but the EU offered 30% and only for the first year. So the minister's going to set out the...
Which backs up everything you were saying, Patrick. You know, if they really were our friends, this would be a very straightforward deal.
Well, we'll see. We'll wait and see.
Well,
I mean, yeah,
they're tough negotiators.
I just don't know why we are still aligned with them on so many things. It doesn't make... That's the bit that doesn't make any sense to me. And I think whether you voted Remain or whether you voted Leave, still being aligned to them in so many laws, especially regarding the environment, makes no sense to me. I don't understand it.
All right. Well, look, we're going to whiz ourselves on, because there's also an unusual story. Well, some people will think it's unusual anyway. On the front of the Times and the Telegraph, caesarean births overtake natural births for the first time ever. So we're going to talk to Bev Turner on this for good reason, but I have a theory.
Do you not think that this panel is going to be good on
this
that?
all-male panel, this solid all-male panel?
Well, that's very presumptuous.
Christo.
Right, but I've got a theory about this based on some of the experiences that Emily and I had whilst we were, well, she was anyway, with child. So all of that and more next.
Hello, very good evening to you. I'm here with your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, after what has been a largely fine day for many of us, things are set to change through the next 24 hours, with some wet weather going to arrive in time for tomorrow. That's all due to a weather system that's currently out towards the west of us. But before this, we have a ridge of high pressure, and so relatively quiet weather across us through large chunks of the night. As a result, we're going to have a lot of dry weather, yes, but also quite a lot of clear skies. And with that, we're going to see some mist and fog patches developing, particularly across central and eastern parts. They could be quite dense. Also worth noting that temperatures are going to drop a little bit lower than some recent nights, so a chillier start to the day tomorrow, could even be a touch of frost around. So first thing tomorrow, a chilly start, yes. Largely dry across central and southern parts of England and also across the east, but watch out for those fog patches. A different story towards the north and west, however. That front that I mentioned at the start, that will have spread its way in, and so we're going to see some fairly persistent and at times heavy rain across many places, and with all that wet weather, the winds will be strengthening as well. So a blustery, wet start to the day for most. Clinging on to the dry weather across the far east of England through much of the day. Elsewhere, it's going to be pretty wet at times. The highest rainfall totals likely to build up over parts of South Wales and southwest England. Dartmoor, for example, could see 40 to 60 millimetres, enough to cause some disruption. Temperatures on paper are a few degrees above average for the time of year, but with the unsettled weather, well, it's not going to feel particularly pleasant. Then as we go into Thursday, there's more rain set to push its way in, a swathe of even heavier rain coming in from the south-southwest. So watch out for that, as it could cause some more disruption with the ground already so saturated. Friday for many actually looks like a largely fine end to the week, but a more changeable pattern into the weekend. Bye-bye.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
OK, all right, welcome back. So, look, there's quite a lot to get stuck into here on the front pages. I mean, as you can imagine, a couple of them are leading with what's gone on in Liverpool. The ex-commando, it's on the front of the Independent for a start, ex-commando who mowed down Liverpool fans in undiluted fury is jailed for 21 and a half years. Former Royal Marine Paul Doyle forced his Ford Galaxy through crowds on Water Street. He injured 134 people. It is absolutely remarkable that no one was killed. You're looking at footage of some of it on your screens there now. You know, there were things like dash cam footage that was revealed in court, yelling people to get out of the way, all of that. You know, I can remember actually reporting on this live. I remember when it happened. I was just about to come on air for my 9 p.m. show, and we started to get news of it. And, you know, you've got that kind of question mark initially about, right, is this big enough to kind of throw the show out? And then it emerged like, right, obviously this is huge. And all of these thoughts are going through your head, aren't they? Is it a terrorist attack? Is it whatever it is? You know, and it turns out it was a bloke who just absolutely lost it.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
And they really, if you remember, they released the fact that it was, if I remember rightly, his ethnicity, that it was a white man that had done it, because, you know, unfortunately, the times that we live in, if everyone presumes that if it is someone that is of a different ethnicity, as we saw in Sydney, people presume that the motive is going to be very, very different. And I think that was a lesson that was learned from Southport.
Yeah.
That, you know, we've got to get it out there quickly because everyone worries that it's a terror attack.
Yeah, and they're doing it much more now. I mean, Patrick, the line that you just outlined there, you know, the line between to cover or not to cover, to scare versus to inform, those are choices that news outlets and people, because of the how much we see these on our screens every day, day in, day out, right? These are choices that we make every day. And you're in a sort of hyper-vigilant state all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what the way through is, frankly, because horrific things like this happen, you jump to conclusions, and actually, some people are just deranged, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, he's not... I don't really think he's off... I know that there's a good explanation for this, but I don't think he's already offered one. I mean, I was looking at the case quite a bit.
A momentary lapse. I don't know if it was a momentary lapse or not, but incredibly malicious thing to do, to be in that crowd, you know, irrespective of what state of mind you're in, all you're doing there is deliberately harming people to maybe soothe yourself.
I suppose the question is 21 and a half years long enough? I mean, he's also, I mean, this is a pretty moot point because he's got a 3-year driving ban, so, you know. But I mean, is it long enough? Because you're looking at it and you're thinking, right, I mean, this could have been just... I mean, it was a mass casualty incident. No doubt people's lives will never be the same again through their injuries, don't get me wrong. But it could have been a mass fatality. It wasn't.
And I think, did he not... I'm sorry to interrupt, but did he not plead guilty as well? And I think that immediately reduces, I think, your potential sentence by, is it a third?
Something like that, I think.
So that you know, I think that he would have... That's probably
Was there a minimum term in there, or will he likely be out in 10 and a half years?
I think it's 2/3. I think it's minimum 2/3. Could be wrong on that, but I think it's minimum 2/3. I just thought when the judge was giving the sentencing, I just remember thinking, like, I don't know what I think is enough for this, really. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it, with picking individual incidents out when these things ultimately have to fit into a neat box, and there aren't that many crimes that fit this box.
No, there are.
Well, and I think...
sorry about this. We're just going to go to Bev Turner. I'm going to go stateside for Bev Turner, who's got the Late Show live for us from midnight until 2 a.m. And Bev, thank you very much for joining us, because we are going to be talking to you now, I believe, about a story that's on both the front of the Times and the Telegraph, which is more babies born by caesarean than natural births for the first time. Now, I've got a theory on this, but I'm quite keen to know what you make of it.
I didn't know we were going to talk about this, Patrick. But I'm very happy to talk about this.
Okay.
This is a giant experiment with humanity. There are all sorts of physiological processes which go on with women when they give birth, which go on actually with the babies, and it's about seeding your microbiome, which is your immune system. And when babies are born by caesarean section, that process doesn't actually happen, and therefore there are things you can do to offset that. But it is a dark, dark day, Patrick, when more babies are born by caesarean section than via a normal vaginal route, and it's a bleak illustration of how poorly we look after women in the NHS. And as a new father, I don't know whether you had a good or a bad experience, but the majority of women, sadly, report very negative experiences, and a big part of that is they have a midwife that they don't know. And what's happening here, the statistics on this actually, is that a lot of these are planned caesareans, and if women felt more supported, all research shows that most women, if you ask them what plan A would be, they will say, I would like a straightforward natural birth, please. And they're not getting that because they're not being looked after by the NHS. It's a dark story, actually.
I mean, I've got a little theory, which is that, and certainly this was something that we had a little bit of experience of, where you feel like you're being pushed into a caesarean section, mainly because it becomes obvious that a lot of maternity units are ultimately judged on how many babies die, sadly, OK? And that's the kind of bottom line for a lot of maternity units. And I think that they feel as though they can reduce the idea that there'll be a lot of complications by advising the mother to do a caesarean. And you know, I think that there's something probably a little bit squiffy of that, but the number of caesarean births have doubled in the past 2 decades, you know. So there we go. Anyway, Bev, sorry to digress with that. Well, what have you got coming up tonight, then? What have you got for us?
I would happily talk to you about that topic all night, Patrick, but I think the audience would probably tune out. We are going to be looking at the latest with the BBC and President Trump, of course, suing the BBC. I'm going to be talking to a Floridian lawyer who understands this in great detail to explain to us what he might or might not have as the weaknesses or the strengths to his case. There's also some interesting news out, which is just going to be after midnight, which is about calling for an emergency census in 2026. Why might we need something like that? We're also going to be discussing this massive story in DC today, is that various members of the Trump administration have been having to firefight today because Susie Wiles, which is Donald Trump's chief of staff, she's a woman who is very rarely in the public eye, and yet she's the most powerful woman in this town. She gave a series of interviews to Vanity Fair magazine, and there are some quotes from that which depict almost everybody in that administration in a negative light. So Caroline Levitt has been talking about that today, and J.D. Vance as well. He was called a conspiracy theorist, and he said, yeah, I am a conspiracy theorist and I don't mind it either. So we're going to be looking at that as well. And also, I don't know whether you saw these pictures today of Angelina Jolie, who's done an interview with Time magazine in France, and she has talked about having had this double mastectomy and what that meant to her, and some pictures of her. Well, there's actually somebody who coincidentally is a very close friend of mine, a very old friend who was in a very similar situation, whose life has been bizarrely parallel to Angelina Jolie, Claire Farewell, and she is a model and she also had pictures taken, and she's going to come on and talk to us about how important that is, especially for women who have breast cancer and don't feel as comfortable with their bodies after it. And we'll talk about why Angelina Jolie might have done this as well. Okay. So yeah, it's an interesting show. We've got a lot to get through, and a lot of stuff on the front page of the papers, and a story that I've only just noticed, which is about all new houses are going to get Swift bricks. This was a Britain's Newsroom campaign, so I want to really talk about this because I know the woman who was fighting for that. So all new houses must have a Swift brick to help the birds. So well done to the campaigners behind that. That is fantastic. Hannah Taylor, I've just seen that story, so we'll talk about that as well.
Well, we're talking about Swift bricks. Fantastic. We look forward to that. Thank you very much, Bev Turner there, stateside. She's going to be joining you from midnight until 2 a.m. When I come back, find out what in your kitchen could be killing you. That's next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
If you're thinking of heading overseas for a holiday, well, you'll find plenty of fine weather in Greece and Cyprus, Italy too, but fairly showery with a keen northerly breeze for the Canary Islands and some heavy rain across eastern Spain. That's going to stick around for a couple of days. Meanwhile, ahead of another area of low pressure, Italy and Greece are largely fine, but there is another low on the way, arriving into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
because
the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
OK, welcome back, everybody, to Patrick Christys' Night Late Edition. Let's just focus on what's on the front of the Daily Telegraph. And it's quite a light-hearted, fun story, I think. Christo, what do you got for us?
Well, it's, yeah, you're right. It's saying that Gen Z has ruined the family Christmas. Now, Gen Z, so that's mid-90s sort of kids that were born from then. And it tells the story of a family who, and apparently this is much happening across the UK, of Gen Zers who are doing mood boards in order to get Christmas presents. And it tells the story of a family where, you know, they were talking about what each would get for Christmas, and one of the children produced a collage of images from magazines, catalogues and social media like Pinterest and Instagram, and mood boards are becoming more popular among Generation Z.
What's wrong with just writing a letter?
Yeah,
doing it the old-fashioned way.
Just saying what I need. I need some slippers, or I need a dressing gown. Apparently, it's rejecting the idea of choosing a thoughtful present. Instead, you draw up a list, but it's not a shopping list, it's a mood board. So this one had sort of cut out Le Creuset stoneware on there, and had, you know, all of those sorts of things.
I don't understand any of the words you're using at the moment. All words. I'm not sure what a mood board.
Mama, you didn't get me the Le Creuset from my mood board this Christmas.
Well, if you don't like that, right, there's a phrase in this article that I absolutely detest. It says that all of this has the effect of taking people away from symbolic gifting and to transactional gifting. That's what Gen Z are loving at the minute, apparently.
Well, and also
transactional gifting. And there's a flurry of must-have lists, so the sharing lists of the absolute musts. I don't know what the content of this is. And forcing family members to give lists as well, so that it becomes this sort of...
I was in Selfridges yesterday.
Oh, what did you get me?
And not a lot. And
what's in the bag?
I went into... Obviously, I've only recently started caring about kids' toys, but crucially, my son is so young, he's just not going to remember any of this.
He barely has motor skills.
Which is good, because I don't think he's old enough for me to scar him for life yet. But when we went round Selfridges, there was this thing, it was a queue, it was a 3-hour queue, and it appeared to just be for... a fish and chip shop, but we're selling knitted fish and chip shop goods.
So you could eat it? You could just place it on your
So it's like a steak and kidney pie, or
But it was knitted.
Made out of knitwear.
That's not going to taste very nice.
Also short, but it'll look good on Instagram. That's all this is about, isn't it? It's about people unwrapping presents on camera. Yeah. It's about showing off, and that's all it is.
I remember thinking, walking around there at that Selfridges, that's the first time I've been in a kids' department of a store for ages. I remember thinking, how would you explain this to an alien?
No, you couldn't.
You just couldn't. So it's a steak and kidney pie that's knitted, and someone's queued 3 hours for this tat.
I don't know about an alien, but you can barely explain it to me. Why would anyone want to queue up for that?
I don't know, honestly.
That is mental.
Well, James, the father in this article, says that Christmas is now like an arms race. He says, because if I don't get anything that's exactly on the board, if I missed the mark, will they smile at me sweetly but inwardly be saying he's got it wrong again?
Isn't that the point of Christmas? Dad's getting your Christmas gift wrong. Isn't that the point of Christmas?
Well, yeah, but also you don't want a load of old tat that you're never going to use. I think I'm in favour of this. I think I like a Christmas mood board.
Your spirit animal is Gen Z.
I think it maybe is. I think I look Gen Z, and now I want to act Gen Z. Because what we do in my family, right, is we don't actually get presents for everyone. We club together and do one present for each of us, so we don't get a load of rubbish. You get one good gift.
Yeah.
So you want a pair of shoes, for instance, and shoes are quite pricey, especially the shoes I wear. Then basically we all club together, and you get the pair of shoes for everyone.
I've heard 2 different bloke friends say this to me in the last few days, which is that, oh yeah, me and my wife, we're not doing presents this year.
Oh.
And I've said to both of them, you are doing presents this year. You 100% are doing presents.
Be under no illusion.
Oh, you better get her a present.
She might not be, but you.
And she's like, he's like, no, we had a conversation about it. Yeah, I don't care. Yeah. I don't care, mate. It means that conversation means nothing.
Yeah. I've heard it all before. It's like, oh, we don't do birthdays. You do birthdays.
You
do.
So does Emily watch this?
She watches. She's got presents this year.
So you can't tell us what you got her?
No.
She'll be watching?
No. I don't know if she's watching now.
How much have you spent?
I imagine, Chris, it might get back to her.
I just want peace on earth for Christmas.
Oh, God. Yeah. The end of hunger.
I want people to be kind.
Yeah, absolutely. Just abide by the law.
I'd like war on Earth. I'd like more war. I would like more war and more hunger as well, and more shoes, more capitalism, more materialism, and more war.
I need to be more hungry more often.
God.
That is something my doctor has said.
All I want is Manjaro. That's all I want for Christmas.
Is Spanish dancer.
Is it? I think he plays up front for Chelsea. Anyway, right, we must be nearly at the end of whatever this is now, surely.
I don't know what it is.
Okay, yeah, not quite.
Well, apparently, the other thing people are doing is Excel spreadsheets.
Right.
Festive Excel spreadsheets.
Really clutching at straws here now, aren't we?
Yeah.
But to compile a list of gifts, surely, not to hand out.
No, that's with the gifts. They make Excel spreadsheets for every single holiday. Sorry, am I just going on now?
No, it's fine. No, it's just interesting how the different ways in which people are doing the traditional Christmas list. Right, let's give you the run-through of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, or today's, if you're watching us on catch-up. Of course, these are Wednesday's newspaper front pages. The Metro, Christmas gift for an NHS angel. A nurse who has dedicated her life to saving prematurely born babies will spend another Christmas day away from her family to help those most in need. Bless us. Human interest story on the front of the Metro. The Eye, silicosis scandal, ban killer kitchen just to save lives. Yes, sorry, we didn't get around to talking about this. A new campaign is calling for the ban of your toxic kitchen. So...
But at least you'll know about a Christmas list. Your kitchen might kill you.
Well, they want to ban unsafe kitchen worktops, guarantee workplace health tests and a national database of cases. So, yeah, anyway. So we probably should have done that, sorry. The Telegraph, free TV licences for benefit claimants. The Times, return of UK student exchange with Europe. The Daily Mail, free BBC if you live on benefits. The Guardian, UK to rejoin the EU Erasmus programme for students. The Sun, happy ever grafter. A mum of 15 who has now gone off benefits and started her own business and slammed the scrapping of the two-child benefits cap. The Independent, Trump starts £10 billion court fight with the BBC. The end of the BBC, as we know it. They might start to get adverts. Strictly Come Dancing might go behind a paywall. President Trump might sue them for everything that they're worth. Of course, they're going to fight President Trump, so there we go. 5 seconds, Christo.
You can also do a Google document with lists.
Remarkable. Different ways you can do a Christmas list in case you're just tuning in which case you'll be glad it's over. Right, we're going to go now to The Late Show Live, hosted by the one, the only Bev Turner, who will be with you.
Thank you, Patrick. You know what? Those teenagers are doing those Christmas lists with AI. That's even more depressing. Right, we've got a lot to get through this evening. What is Trump going to do about the BBC? We're going to talk to a lawyer and a lot more.
It's the greatest cash prize of the Great British Giveaway so far. A simply stunning £85,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, making 2026 your greatest year to date. That could get you that brand new car, extend and improve your home, take you away on that bucket list holiday, or just give you some peace of mind over the coming months. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear